Everybody, welcome to this episode of Coffee with John. Looking forward to talking with John Wierenga and Dr. Timothy Royer. Fellas, great to connect with you. Looking forward to our talk. If someone were to go to your website, your company is Inner Armor. They're going to see resilience training. Okay, optimize your brain-body connection to build resilience and unlock your athletic, academic, and mental performance. Okay, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
All right, so resilience, I think, is important. I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about brain-body connection first. Okay, seems to me so. Back in the day, it was Descartes that said, "I think, therefore I am." Now, fast forward to today, we have Eckhart Tolle saying, "You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts." Okay. So now, and then fast forward a little bit more, get out of your head for those who meditate and into your body, into your heart space. And so when we talk about brain-body connection, what does that mean literally? And what does that mean spiritually?
Definitely. Big question, John, just to get things rolling. I mean, we just met.
Get things roll. We get in deep
we
quickly.
just met. Like, I'd like a little, could we just get to know each other a little bit? What are we taking cream in the coffee today? What are we doing? I like a little cream sugar with a little
I
latte.
I like to get to know people asking really quality questions.
Yeah.
I think the listener is in a car right now. I probably wanting to get to some real stuff. So go ahead.
Let's go. Well, when it comes to the brain, you're talking to the right people here.
Yeah.
I've been doing this work for over 34 years, primarily in hospital settings, the first decade. And then the last 20 some years have been working in clinical settings, but also about 50% in peak performance space. So we work a lot with elite athletes, executives. Worked personally with Tony Robbins, Kyle Shanahan. We have worked with the 49ers for a decade. And so you're asking the theoretical question, like, what is that connection? And it's important in every space, your brain. We are definitely way more, I would say, data driven. Like, we want to look at what the brain's doing as an organ upstream and how that's affecting things downstream. So the way that you were kind of describing things as looking at the different philosophers, it was kind of a one or the other, an all or nothing. Is it brain? Is it emotion? Is it soul? Is it spirit? It's actually all together, but we see it very sequentially.
Mm-hmm.
We see that it starts with the organ, the brain and how it's functioning. The brain is an electrical organ. It works off of electricity. And when that electricity gets out of balance, that then moves downstream through my physiology, through my body, my autonomic nervous system, and then it starts to move into my thoughts, my feelings, and ultimately my behaviors. And that's where kind of the mix comes up. Like, when you talk, I'm a neuropsychologist, people sometimes think, hey, do you have me lie down on the couch and tell me about my childhood? No, not really, because I work on the brain upstream. And I really feel like when we can work on that brain, we don't have to do as much downstream. And many times it's hard to facilitate long-term change by just talking about your feelings or changing your thought patterns. Those are helpful. But if the electricity's out of balance upstream, it's like pushing a beach ball down in the pool. I'm pushing this one thing down. I'm having problems with creativity at work, and I kind of solve that. But then a year later, I'm dealing with struggles with my weight. Well, they're not connected. Well, maybe they are connected. Maybe it's the brain, the organ itself, a data-driven physiology. So I don't know if that answers this age-old question. It doesn't in a few minutes, but it kind of shows you where we are, which we're about data. What's the brain? What's the body? What's the nervous system doing?
So data versus gut, data versus instincts. There's there's an old story about Sam Walton that he would go to a meeting, board meeting, and they would say, "Hey, here's all the data," and yada yada yada. And he would look around the room, allegedly, and say, people in this room don't even shop at Walmart. I'm going to go to the coffee shop and have coffee and pie with my, consumers. And then he would go back and say, this is what's important to them.
Yes.
And so I love data, right? If you don't bring data to a meeting, people just use their own opinion, right? And typically it's based on emotion and it's very difficult. What data is the most meaningful, and where do you have to use your gut?
Yes. So I would say,
Like God speaking, or based on that question, that
what is
ring?
that?
I don't know. There was
That
like a
ring?
ring. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, that was like some confirmation from the clouds.
Correct,
Ding.
correct, correct, correct.
John asked the right question, you know,
Proceed.
which
Proceed. Right, right.
which again, they're not shouldn't be seen as just complete separate all or nothing. Like the reason that he was able to do that, that instinct, that gut, is actually the things that we look at. Like we do draft testing. I've assessed 15 of the NFL quarterbacks, and I work with teams and let them know, hey, here's 5 guys. Like we had a big draft a few years ago, these 5 quarterbacks, right? And all the analytics, the data said one thing, but then we look at the neuroanalytics. What's the brain telling me? Which there's pieces in the brain, like your alpha waves, like your resilience, like your sleep, like your REM sleep, like how you manage stress, that actually create that personality, that you have that gut feeling, that you sense that under pressure. But that doesn't just come out of nothingness. That's
Yeah,
not just something in your gene that you got. There's an autonomic nervous system that's in a balanced state, that has a lot of capacity and resilience, that can observe these almost like non-specific cues and know how to be creative and react. And that's what happens in the really true executive. When I think of all the NFL quarterbacks and NBA coaches and GMs and owners of teams that we've worked with, there is that gut feeling. But if you look at their brain looks different under pressure than what the average person walking the street looks like under pressure.
I would be so curious to see what kind of, you're talking about quarterback. The Tom Brady, who was not in a first draft pick.
Yeah.
The Jalen Brunsons, who, the underdogs, like what's going on in their brain where when you look at both the data and the brain, right? When you can
Yeah.
say,
And
this person, in business, we're always looking, where's the next level of potential? Well, you can see somebody's talent, but sometimes not. But if I'm looking at their brain and seeing their potential and how it's wired in their brain, then I can, start to morph it together.
yeah, which is interesting. Like we do a lot of work for the 49ers. So I've worked with Brock Purdy since he came there. Brock and I interact all the time. And Brock's a great example, Mr. Irrelevant to unbelievable contract last year. The guy under pressure is just, ice, right? And we're going to see more from him. But it was funny because I was looking at his brain last week, and at the same time, I interacted with owner of one of the most renowned sports teams in the country, who's not an athlete. He's a multi billionaire, but their brains looked very, very similar, which is interesting. The application of what we do with an autonomic nervous system that has a lot of capacity, and a brain that the brain waves are firing correctly, may be totally different. It may be the boardroom, it may be the locker room, it may be the classroom.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It starts with the brain. And what we're expert as is reading the brain and then making the brain stronger to adapt somebody who's maybe not the Brock Purdy into something different, so that they can actually achieve that potential that they're longing for and that they know exists inside of them.
Love it. How? Let's talk about.
How?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't answer that. Sorry. It was nice meeting with you, John. It was great. And
Well,
yeah,
what are we talking about? I mean, the feature is great, but how do you do it? How do you do it?
yes,
If I'm listening right now, I'm thinking,
yeah,
okay, if I connect with Inner Armor, they scan my brain and they say, oh, okay, you have the brain of a billionaire, but you've only made X. And now here's what we're going to do to get you like evolving and getting your brain, on a little bit more power.
yeah. I mean, it's a great question, and I'll get into the specifics. It reminds me, I was doing a film shoot yesterday for this upcoming entrepreneur lecture that we're doing. And they wanted me to read this line. You're like, you're looking for focus, you're looking for sleep, you're looking
Yeah.
for creativity. And they said, where you have to look is the brain. And I'm like, yes. And so even the people who don't think they have it, the brain is the most amazing thing that exists on the planet. And I've studied over 70,000 brains. And the more I study the brains, the more I realize this thing is more complex than I ever realized. It's not like I have all the answers, but I do know that we need to appreciate what's in the brain. And the answer isn't a pill. The answer isn't in a 3-step formula. The answer is in the brain's greatest ability, which is to learn. You are a learning machine. You're learning things you're not even thinking about, like 98.6, your body temperature. Your brain is taking in data and it's adjusting every cell in your body to keep you at 98.6. And so what we do is first we assess, which involves looking at the brain, looking at the heart, looking at breathing, looking at the vagus nerve, sleep patterns, and hormones. Looking at that, once we understand kind of the roadmap, then we start to build a program of learning for the brain, teaching the brain how to get out of these destructive traits and into these states where it's very productive. And you want to know how I do that is probably the next question.
Yes.
Yes. So what we want to use is, like I said, the underlying principle is always learning. So there's 2 ways you can move your nervous system from out of balance into balance. One is chemically. So if you're not focusing, I can give you enough amphetamine to make you focus, but then I'm going to cause all kinds of other problems for you. That's a chemical alteration. You're altering the electrical current. If I'm not sleeping, I can give you a chemical alteration to make you sleep, but I haven't answered the question of sleep. I haven't solved that problem. So in what we're looking at is not leveraging a chemical change, but leveraging a voltage gated change, which is learning. So giving the brain feedback and the autonomic nervous system feedback on itself so it can see itself in real time. And we need that mirror. If you think about everything in your life you've learned has come from feedback. You change your weight by stepping on the scale. You get to the meeting on time by looking at your watch. You change what you're saying to somebody by looking at a facial expression. It's feedback. What you don't have for your brain that's out of balance is you don't have the feedback to see what is going on with my brain. What is the mirror of what's inside?
Yeah.
And that's what we provide, is that feedback to alter the brain. And I can explain that more if you'd like.
So you get feedback. John, any thoughts? I don't want to leave you out of this.
Well, I want to talk about the nuts and bolts. So when we're ready to talk about kind of the nuts and bolts of how we get this feedback and how we actually train the brain, I want to share more, because it's
Let's
all
go there. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Because I think if I'm listening right now, I'm thinking, all right, Brock, all of the athletes, the quarterbacks, like, I mean, who doesn't want to perform at that level, right?
We all do.
The elites of the elite. And I think sometimes, and I see this as a business coach, right? Sometimes we're in our own way, right? We can't see what's right in front of us, what's hidden. And sometimes as a business coach, I go in and I can see things that are hidden in plain sight, which is kind of what you're talking about too. I mean, it sounds like you got to do a little bit of digging to understand what's there, and then give somebody and say, hey, this is it. Now enter the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
So we believe a lot in that Peter Drucker quote, right? That is, you can't manage what you don't measure. So we have to start with, you have to measure the brain. And that sounds probably crazy to people listening, right? But what we're doing is we're using EEG, electroencephalogram technology.
Well, wait, I'm going to pause you for 1 second, because if I'm at home right now and or I'm in my car anywhere in the world, then I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're starting to talk about things, but do I need to go to a clinic? Is this something I go to my local doctor? Is this something that you mail to me and I do? I like to kind of take things step by step as if I'm the listener as well. So where do these tests take place?
Traditionally, for the last 50 to 60 years, they've taken place in a clinic, in a doctor's office. And that's all the technology could really withstand. It was a lot of wires, computer-based, and someone would come in, they'd put all these wires on your head and they'd give you a brain scan, or they'd put something around your chest or your belt and they'd measure your heart and your breathing. What we've been able to do over the last 10 years is go from that in-clinic model to a at-home virtual web-based, cloud-based, app-based technology where I can send you a kit in the mail. You can put all this stuff on, and in an hour and a half to an hour with one of our technicians, we can collect about 25 different neurophysiological variables, the neuroanalytics that Dr. Royer talked about. And that gives us a comprehensive overview that we can give to Dr. Royer, and with his 70,000 brains and years of experience, he can say, okay, John, I think you think you have ADHD, but your brain actually shows me you have a sleep deficiency. And we've got to fix this upstream because your brain's not getting the restoration, the recovery it needs. And that's manifesting in a downstream behavior as an attention problem. So yes, you could take a chemical. And so I'll pause there, but that's the first part is we have all this technology in the nuts and bolts. It's an app based. We send it to you. And we've got to measure all these neuroanalytics to first start to understand what is actually going on in John's brain. What's going on in his nervous system.
All right. So now if I'm listening and I'm thinking, this is great, but what if I do this and you give me really bad news, right? So is it a combination of quote unquote bad news? And I think there's a percentage of people that would say, are you going to call and tell me I'm dying? Are you going to call and tell me my brain is abnormal? Or are you going to kind of layer in the benefits of the good things that I can do moving forward?
Yeah. I'll take this one. I love this question.
Right. Nobody has a picture of their brain. So you get a picture of their brain and say, well, the person who drank too much, did too much, fill in the blank,
So, and remember, it's not just the brain. We're measuring cardiovascular because your heart drives things. We're measuring breathing. 85% of your brain's energy comes from oxygen. We're measuring vagus nerve, which is huge on the brake pedal for your brain and body. So it's a comprehensive kit that's really not much bigger than like a shaving kit. It used to be literally fill 2 briefcases of stuff.
Yeah.
It comes to your house, Bluetooth, and through our web-based app, we can go through all these different metrics. But the question you asked, I love this. I had an NBA team a few years back that had the number 3 pick in the draft, and we assessed 40 guys. I've never seen so many
pre-draft.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Pre-draft. I've never seen so many 6'7", individuals in my lifetime, power forwards, and I'm only 5'6".
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. This is amazing what you're talking about right now, because you're talking about measuring brains for these teams to figure as part of their equation.
Absolutely.
Pick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why would
you're making a hiring decision as a business?
Yes.
You're putting millions of dollars into a signing bonus or a contract.
Yes, it's great.
Stock options. Yeah, you got to be looking at some of this.
You got to look at the
Talk
brain.
Twice if you did Cooper Flag.
Can't say anything.
I know. I'm joking. Right. Yeah. You'll tell me that when we're maybe off. Okay. All right,
so we had this 40. We had 1 pick, right? And they wanted us to assess 40 people, and you would have looked at the picks, and as we looked at the brain, we would have said, well, that's the strongest brain in the mix. But the brain that we picked one of the weaker brains because we knew we could make it stronger. The guy was 6'7", same wingspan, same free throw percentage, same 3-point percentage, same 40-yard dash. but his brain was weaker. And we know that we can definitely make brains stronger. So what I call that is my bent needle in the haystack.
Yeah.
Is I want that guy. I want you to come in and
Yeah.
be the owner of a Fortune 500 company, and there's something off in your brain because we change the brain successfully.
Yeah.
And there's a ceiling, that you don't know, that I can see and say, give it to me. The ones I don't like is where it comes back and they're basically doing the best they can with the hardware they've got. And it's like, hey, that's your ceiling. But the ones that like the Mr. Irrelevant to massive contract from one person to another, like getting these people, and the missing link is the brain. It's not a pill. It's not a three-day course in San Diego. It's strengthening your brain. That's what it's all about.
San Diego does have great weather. I just want to counter.
I'm there right now. That's why I just thought.
Okay, good. So let me ask this is a quick yes/no question that I think people would be asking themselves. If I do this, I call you, this happens, I send in my kit, my brain is bad, is my insurance going to go up? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I think people would just be asking that quick question themselves. Next thing
we don't work with insurance.
Okay.
We don't. You can use your flex dollars, but we don't work with insurance.
I think people may be thinking, is this like a Stranger Things type of thing? Is this like an 11 on Stranger Things? Are you picking up on Sixth Sense, like ESP things that their brain also has? Or is it just straight up like we're going to grow the brain?
So the quick answer to that is that the brain runs off of these electrical frequencies from pretty much 0 to 40. And those electrical frequencies determine what you're going to do physiologically, thought-wise, and emotions. And so we can objectively, this is science. This data's been around. This has come out of the seizure space from 40 years ago, that EEGs measure for seizures, but they do way more than that now. They can tell us the precision of creativity, how much this person's going to react to stress, how well they're sleeping. We have all the details of all those individual frequencies that then push us to peak performance.
That's great. Okay, back to the nuts and bolts, John.
So say you do this, right? We get the kit, you get it. I send you the report. We send you the report. You get Dr. Royer's feedback. Now what, right? There's a lot of companies out there that are like, hey, go to the lab, send in your blood results. This is what it means, but how can I actually change? And we're in the business of development, of changing, of potential. And so the way it works for us is we can train these same metrics that we've measured. So we take the brain and we look at the activity related to stress or anxiety, overthinking, the fast, and we set a threshold on our technology. Anytime in our training session you're above that threshold, we give you feedback to change. And then we look at your breathing, your heart. We give you feedback and we use technology to change these habits. So in 4, 5, 6 weeks, you start changing through practice of intentional active training of about 7 to 10 minutes a day. And we're changing these metrics. Now, these metrics.
I just want to pause for a second.
Yeah.
So 7 to 10 minutes a day of activities.
Yes.
This is I would think, the human error part, right?
Oh, yes.
Because now you've gotten the data. They put the kit on their head. They've worked with your technician. They've sent it in. Dr. Royer has, Dr. Royered it. He sent it back. Now they actually have to do something for 7 to 10 minutes a day. What percentage of people actually do the daily 7 to 10 minutes? Let's just talk about that. We have data. I'm assuming on that.
Yes, we do.
People actually do it 7 days a week.
The percentage is going to correlate with actually their level of motivation and actually what you'll see. So a lot of times the more sick they are, okay, they know they've got a major issue, or the more elite they are.
Those are two spectrums. You got the Brocks, who are of course doing it because they've got millions and millions on the line, as well as amongst other things. You got people who are too late, which are trying to reverse. But the preventative person, right? The person who is thinking preventatively to do it 7 days a week, what percentage of those people actually do it 7 days a week?
That's going to vary. I mean, I think that's going to vary. I mean, I have some people that I've been working with for 12 years that are executives that all of a sudden the boardroom started to change for them.
Yeah.
And it was initially, hey, I'm obsessing too much. I'm not as creative as I want to.
Let me pause you for a second, because here's what I'm trying to suggest. That as human beings, we still have to do the work, you know.
Yes.
And you guys can provide top information like you're talking about, no differently than as a business coach. I don't mean to pat my own back. I can give someone great, perfect
big
advice,
time. Yeah.
but I can't make somebody actually take action. There's when I do keynotes and I speak, you can steal this, by the way. I have this riddle and I show a picture of 5 frogs on a log. So I'll end a lot of times with saying 5 frogs. I said, I want to end with a riddle. 5 frogs are sitting on a log and 4 decide to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? And then I let people think about it. And then I ask, by show of hands, how many people would say 1? And most people raise their hand. But the answer is 5. And the reason it's 5 is because 4 decided they didn't take action.
Yeah.
And I think the human error thing here is I see huge value in what you guys do. But how do we get, if I were a betting man, I would bet that 20%, forget the bookends, the middle. I bet 20% of people can't do it. And that I think is generous. Consistently without falling off and then jumping back on. That would be my gut. But here's the real question. What can you say to people? What can you do to inspire people to access a part of their brain that infuses more consistency? I mean, 7 minutes a day is nothing. I teach time management as one of my workshops.
Yeah.
And I'll say in the beginning, how many people feel in this room? Doesn't matter if there's 10 people or 300 or more, blah, blah, blah. How many, by show of hands, how many people feel like they don't have 1 minute? The whole room raises their hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll say to them, if you can leave here and I can give you 5 minutes back, will you feel like you accomplished something? Everyone raises their hand. Absolutely. And then I say, how many people believe that I don't believe me that I can give you 5 minutes back into your day? Really, I give them an hour or 2. But I say, how many people don't believe that I can give them 5 minutes? Half the room raises their hand. So time there is a responsibility that we have to take in an ownership, especially, in my opinion, the environment that we live in today. We live in an environment where we have to be preventative. We have to be proactive. We have to put wellness top of our list, selfishly on top of our list.
Protect it.
You guys are doing amazing work. How do you inspire? What would you say to someone to just keep them consistent?
Yeah. So I would say we come at that from 2 angles, John. One is education. Education is always the bridge. When they understand the value of their most important asset, more than education, more than where they're working, is their brain. And they start to get that value. So we do a ton of education, a ton of work with that. We don't just say, do these exercises. The second thing is we build into the system an operant conditioning or reward system that everybody loves, which is achieving a certain goal. And so we gamify the entire thing. So we know what the 20 steps are, but we know that the average person just can't manage the 20 steps.
Yeah.
So you hit these 10 stars and you open up the next thing, and then you get the next 10 stars, and then you get a free brain map of your brain, which is $1,000 value, by doing that. And so what we're asking people is give us these little segments. They don't even know we're just going from breathing to heart to vagus nerve to brain, that I just need you to get through each of these little segments. And what's hilarious is I've been in brain rooms that we have at pro teams where the entire team is working on the program. And you'll get this guy who's making $60 million a year. He'll sit down and he'll do his vision training or his breathing training, 5 minutes. He'll get a star and he'll be screaming so loud, running around the locker room.
Yeah.
I got my star. I got my star. And so I understand, because I've worked with human behavior for a very long time, is that I'm not expecting the people to be a neuroscientist of 34 years. But I do know that if I can give little motivation and education, that even the 6-year-old autistic child, that we change their brain, we make them be able to talk and function better because we understand operant conditioning and the human potential to not engage. And so we fight back on that with how we built the technology.
So let me ask you a question. I want to get more into kind of the nuts and bolts of things, but you've been mentioning, breathing and visual exercises. And I think that's something that many people take for granted is breathing. We take about 23,000 breaths a day, about 8.5, give or take, million breaths a year. It is a very serious thing that can be really beneficial when we understand the breath. But getting back to the nuts and bolts, what else are you teaching? Because someone may be thinking right now, I don't need to spend money for someone to teach me how to breathe, right? I think they're wrong, but that's what they may be thinking.
John, you want to take it or you want me to? Because I love this question.
Yeah, I think and I say that from someone who I meditate every day. I've taken transcendental meditation classes, Silva Mind classes, Monroe Institute. I love the idea. I love breathing. I think it's really important. So, but what are the nuts and bolts of your techniques and what you teach people to do once all of the results are in?
Yeah. So the thing about breathing, and I've been doing this for a long time, is I don't even like to say what we do is breathing, because all of a sudden people think box breath, Wim Hof breath, this breath. These breaths are not measurable. Okay, you're just following a metronome, a rhythm, but you know what? You're changing every 30 seconds, every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And the breath you were using 30 seconds ago may not be the right breath right now. So breathing has to be dynamic and interactive, and the only way you can understand that is to see it. So we have gone and developed a respiration belt that goes around the stomach, which helps us see acts as a proxy for the diaphragm moving. So and the thing that we've realized is it's not so much about rate. Rate is important. You have to be careful not to be breathing too slow. So there's a lot of good work on meditative breathing is not as anti-inflammatory as a breath rate that's more in a resonant frequency of 6 breaths a minute. But the big piece on that is consistency. Does every breath have this pattern that is consistent? And what a lot of people are, they're breathing slow, but they're very inconsistent and they're not using the diaphragm. Yeah. So the breathing belt, you don't get a star just because you breathe 6 breaths a minute. Your diaphragm has to be moving in an exact rhythm in order for the star to activate, because we now know we've triggered the autonomic nervous system. So it's a measurable biomechanic. I like to call it more respiration frequency versus just breathing, because everybody just, I got a breathing app. Yeah. You will never get consistency. You will never get consistency without the belt on. It's like trying to tell time without a clock. I think it's a certain amount of time from looking outside, but unless I have the clock, I don't know exactly that it's 9:37 a.m. here in San Diego.
Yeah, well, it's like putting the pieces of a puzzle together that when you don't have the cover to look at what it looks like. John, before you chat, I have one question I want to clarify for Doc. Mm-hmm. You said that meditation is not as anti-inflammatory. You talked about that. I think I don't know if a lot of people or everybody listening understands what inflammation is. So when you say anti-inflammatory, inflammation in the body, inflammation in the brain, the brain body connection, doing things that are anti-inflammatory, and what inflammation is and why it's important to do things that are anti-inflammatory, I think is worth a minute.
And we're going to do that in a minute. You want me to do a minute on?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, it's a big topic, but for the sake of, we could talk, we could have a whole episode about it, but but give the kindergarten version of
Yeah.
why, I don't want people to gloss over that term because I think it's a very important term.
Yes. So when you think of inflammation, I want you to think of stress. So stress on the nervous system that can actually weaken it and make it collapse or become fatigued. Okay. So there could be all kinds of inflammation. Okay. When I get a cut, I get inflamed, right? But my gut can be inflamed. My brain can be inflamed. Like I'm so wired that it's inflamed, but it basically comes down to this stress response that is the body is trying to work against. Even when we see sleep problems, there's an inflammation process in that. And there's some great new research coming out about depression, how the depression, more than just a dopamine serotonin thing, that it's actually a long-term inflammatory thing going on with the brain, not just, hey, my dopamine's out, my serotonin's off, so I got to take my Zoloft. No, you need to be looking at inflammation, which is this stress response in the nervous system that can be more than just physiological. It can also be neurological.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been going to a Buddhist monk for a long, long time. And my whole family does. And my wife, my kids have been going to him forever. He does cupping and acupuncture, and he's all about getting rid of inflammation and stagnation in the body, in the brain. It's so important. So I was pre-med for a year. I failed every single class that I took. I studied 12 hours a day, failed every test. So I don't claim to be a doctor, but it is something that people should know more about.
Big time. And the thing that's related to this, you hear all this chatter about the vagus nerve. There is some truth to all that stuff, and then there's some junk to that. But the vagus nerve is so important in an anti-inflammatory. Its sole job is to keep everything in check, kind of like a police officer keeping everybody going the speed limit.
Yeah.
And when the body gets inflamed, the vagus nerve loses its tone. So when we measure the vagus nerve, we're measuring the body's anti-inflammatory mechanisms, which do correlate with sleep and brain activity. That's a longer discussion, but
that's a big discussion.
All about that. Yeah.
All right, John, back to you.
I want to add just one thing on your question about the different types of breathing. Okay. Yeah. So the meditation, box breathing, Wim Hof, those are going to be more of a state change. Short term, in the moment, I need to calm down or I need to amp myself up, right? Maybe not transcendental meditation, the longer stuff, that's going to be more of a trait change. What we do is we are interested in the trait change. We want to teach you a skill that in the moment you can calm yourself down, but we're looking at what's called biofeedback, HRV biofeedback, to see how does the breathing change the heart. That's what it's all about. The breathing to itself is just it's a means to an end. It's a means to change the heart and the brain. Yeah. So when people are there, oh, I don't need to learn breathing. Well, no, you do, because you need to actually measure what you're trying to change, which is the heart and the brain waves. So that's what we do. And the research shows that we can increase resting HRV, which people might wear an Aura or a Whoop, and we can change that through our protocols faster than any other type of breathing or, so that's what we're looking at is, can we create a trait change in your physiology that's going to give you this resilience? And you have to measure the heart, because the breathing is just it's just a means to an end. So that's where I would say you don't have to pay for breathing all the time, but you have to invest in this recovery, this resilience skill for a period to learn it and to manage it and train it so that you can then apply it for years to come afterwards. So that's why we love working with high schoolers, elementary, college students as well, because we're training them and teaching this skill at the younger ages of life so they can use it when they get into the corporate workforce, when they go for interviews, things like that.
So the new IQ, the new EQ, the new SQ is brain IQ and heart IQ.
Yeah.
All right. So now, okay. So if I'm listening to this, I'm saying this sounds amazing, right? I think I'm thinking two things. This sounds amazing, but you're working with such elite of the elite. Can I even afford this? How do you answer that?
Absolutely not. I'm joking.
That's okay. That's good. I mean, that's an answer. Gives people direction. But, I think that's what people are thinking is, can I afford it? And can I afford it long term? And if I can't afford it long term, I may not even get started. And I'm not asking you to give prices, because what I find is people listen to podcasts. Someone could be listening to this in 3 years, but give a gist of that so people can at least pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's important to know that where we started and what this technology has come out of is a probably not affordable place for most people. I mean, this is those high-end people that are concierge service. We've worked really hard the last few years and used technology to make it affordable for everyday people. We have two models. We have a one-on-one model where I'm working directly with you. One of our coaches is working with you. And that's going to be your higher end model. You're getting weekly contact coaching. That's going to be for those executives, business owners that are really interested in changing themselves. And then we have another model, which is more of a mass serve kiosk approach, where we take one of the units or a couple of the units and we use it one to many. And so you put a kiosk or two in your school, your business, your co-working space, wherever it might be, and you have multiple people use the technology and the training, and we do more of a group approach. That is definitely more affordable. I mean, we're talking, in the rates of, just depends, but under $100, of course, a month for multiple users to use that kind of stuff, and then the one-on-one coaching, it can vary based on how much time you need and how much longer, how much we're working with you. So those are kind of our two approaches. It is affordable, and it is an affordable investment that maybe people can't do it for years on end. But when we look at some of the sales coaching and some of the stuff out there that people are spending money on, but they're not fixing their brain, it's like, hey, this is an investment upstream so that the other investments you're making in yourself, your development, you're getting more out of them.
Okay, so it's affordable. It's not just for the elites. I want to go back and talk about the preventative mindset person who is listening right now. Why do they need to be preventative versus wait for it to be too late? Like, when's the right time?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that one because I just did a video recording for owner of a team, and I was looking at it, and it was very interesting because his initial question was more about stress and how to be more creative. And I identified that in the breathing and the heart rate and what was going on there. But as I'm looking at his brain scan, I see this dip in these slow waves, which allow the brain to recover. And they're having to do with not getting enough REM sleep. And currently, he's not reporting any memory problems. But I'm looking at that and I'm saying, hey, this is probably my long-term investment concern. Your short-term is this. I'm going to make you more creative. We're going to get this stuff rolling. But my bigger thing, the crystal ball is telling me, if you don't fix that, that is eroding to a point that you could be this very successful person, but then not even know how much is in your bank account because you've lost those recovery brainwaves. And so we're doing a lot of that. And people will say, wait a minute, my question was this. And I said, yeah, I'm going to answer that question. But I need to tell you that if you're not going to work with me, work with somebody at fixing these theta waves, because those are going to cause you problems 10, 20 years from now. Yeah. And that's where we can identify that in real time. People get their 50-year-old colonoscopy. But I would say come in at 50 and get your brain scanned. Like you got a greater percentage of having some type of cognitive issue, and you're not looking at your brain. You're looking at your furnace in your car, but you're not looking at your brain. And you need to look at that from a long-term preventative, not just, hey, I want to be more creative. I want to get more done. Right.
What are some of the activities that you give to your clients to do? You mentioned visual, breathing. What are some of the other activities that people can kind of get a vibe for that occupy their 7 to 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'll start with last week we had a pro golfer in, and I was working with him on the course. Okay. And so we're on the course, and he's got the breathing belt on. Okay. So I'm measuring his breathing, and I can see it on the iPad as he's walking the course, shooting. But then we've taken the breathing, and through John's development of the software, we've taken that to any music app. So I say, hey, man, what do you like listening to? I like Eric Church. Okay. Let's turn Eric Church on.
Have
So
you
Eric,
seen the commencement speech?
Yes.
it's incredible. It's incredible.
It's the best. It's the best speech I think I've ever heard ever.
It is phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
The visualization, everything. So we're playing Eric Church, and John has set up the software. So the moment this golfer isn't breathing like he's supposed to, which is interesting, the moment he stepped on the green, Eric Church stops instantaneously to the millisecond, which is a feedback to, hey, why are you going to take that putt? You're not breathing correctly. Well, I think I'm breathing. No, I know you're not, because I can tell instantaneously. So we set those feedback loops up with different forms of technology. So I know when the breathing is right, the music plays. When the breathing is off, the music stops.
Yeah.
When the heart is in the right place of capacity, resilience, the music plays. Then we take it to the brain. And now we've identified, here are these stress brainwaves that you're obsessing too much. You have the perfectionism, but you've gone too far with it. And so whenever that spikes up, I'm going to turn the music off. Or what we do in that form of feedback is we say, you can watch anything you want to. You can watch Netflix, Prime, sports. I don't care. Watch stocks, whatever you want to watch. But the video will only play when your detrimental brainwaves are lower than they should be.
Yeah.
And so what we create is this immediate millisecond feedback loop to the brain that it gets, in a sense, punished for not doing the right thing, but then it gets rewarded and it's in the zone, because we don't really know what focus is. Yeah. When I say what's focus, but when we look at EEG, I can tell you that's focus right there.
Yeah.
And that's when the music or the video will play.
I may need to do this, but when I have to finish Homeland first.
Oh, well, let's do it with Homeland.
No, it'll turn off. Every night I watch it. My wife and I watch it before bed, and every night I'm dreaming I'm in the CIA or the FBI. And yeah, it's yeah.
No, we do it with Homeland. The beauty of we develop an automatic thresholding, so it doesn't matter how stressful it is. It's always going to find the next level stronger.
Cool. Yeah. I will say something though. I do notice when I golf, when I pull out my driver. I walk up to the ball. I legitimately stop breathing, and I always think to myself, shouldn't be out of breath golfing.
Definitely not.
All right, so John, what are some of the other things you want to share as we?
So what Dr. Royer shared is like that's what the goal is of what we're working towards, right? That golfer who was monitoring and changing their breathing while golfing, he didn't start there. Yeah. Let's go back to day 1. 7 minutes on the app. Think skill development, think Duolingo, think learning something new. We've got to start with basic biomechanics structure of breathing. What is the diaphragm? Where is the diaphragm? What is your chest doing when you're breathing? Should your chest be moving up and down? No, it should be low and slow in the diaphragm. Should I breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth? This is where we start. We start with the 7 minutes of 3.5 minutes of breathing sitting, 3.5 minutes of standing, getting feedback, rewarding, gamifying it. Then we make it a little harder once you've got that down. And then we say, okay, let's not work on only rate. Let's work on consistency. Now let's take away some of the feedback. Now let's add in the music. Now let's add in the heart. So those 7 minutes are all intentional. We start very easy. Everyone starts at the same place. And depending on your progress, you move forward to get to the point of that pro golfer. So I use Duolingo. If you've ever tried that, you learn a language or learn something on their app or any other apps, you're not starting with paragraphs in a foreign language. You're starting with 2-word sentences. This is a verb. This is a noun. That's how we're doing it. We're teaching you this skill. You may walk away from us after 2 months and never work with us again, but I guarantee you'll learn the skill that you can take with your life. So
great. That's great. All right, fellas, quick speed round. A book that's made a big impact or a book that you think everybody would benefit from on this topic.
Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.
Okay, good. Doc?
The Great Nerve by Kevin Tracy.
All right, 2 good books. If you could have coffee with anybody, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Man, that's a good one.
I think I know Doc's answer to this, but that's a different conversation. I think I'd I think I'd sit down with Benjamin Franklin. Sounds maybe I'm in the mood for the 250th anniversary, right?
Yeah, that could be.
I wouldn't mind talking about the virtues with Benny.
Yeah, talk about that. Yeah, I think he just was a polymath of his day, right?
Yeah.
And just the way he thought, I would just love to just ask him questions about how he saw everything connect in the world.
Yeah.
I think in the spirit of the podcast, I would say Ivan Pavlov. I think if he had this technology, he was trying to do this, exactly what we're doing, measuring physiological responses. And I just think he was absolutely brilliant what he did.
Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Show up and show up.
Doc?
Show up to your place and then show up mentally, be present, which we didn't talk about today, but that's something we work on too. But
you guys will come back. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Best piece, man. I think don't quit.
Okay.
Royers don't quit. That's what my mother drilled into me from a child. Royers don't quit.
Let's talk about this. We'll turn this into the last question. The importance of being present is John.
The importance of being present is relationships.
Doc?
Life-changing.
Finish this sentence. One more question. The first thing everybody can do to be more preventative in their life is?
Notice where your breath is.
Doc?
Sleep well.
Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and where they can connect with you and learn more.
Motivated individuals who want to get things done in life, starting with themselves and then the people they care about. You can reach out to us, forgeinnerarmor.com. You can also reach out to us on social media, contact@forgeinnerarmor or john@forgeinnerarmor. Those are email addresses you can use. And Dr. Royer, you have a couple as well for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that has a brain can benefit from what we do. But I think the people that are willing to be educated and learn are really important. If you're just not going to work hard, not going to learn, you're not the person. But we can change anybody who has a brain. Royer Neuroscience, royerneuroscience.com is a good place. doc@royerneuroscience.com is another entity that would be more of the concierge side of things. So John on Inner Armor, when he's talking about there is definitely going to be more of a broader range, but more that concierge one-on-one.
That's great. Fellas, I can't thank you enough. This was a great talk. I love what you're doing, and I love how you can help people using data and giving them tools that seem pretty simple. It just requires consistency to implement. But I think sometimes we want to get to this next level of potential, and what it sounds like what you guys do is literally unlock something that hasn't been maybe paid attention to the level it could be and can continue to be, which gives people great insights, and it sounds like you guys are giving them great tools. Coffee community, couple things, requires intent, us to be proactive and be preventative, and I think we all have the ability to get to our next level of potential. We just need the guides to get us there. It sounds like you guys are. I know I don't say this arrogantly. I am, and all coaches that fit. And I think it's important to find a coach that can get you there, that's in alignment with who you are and who you believe is a right fit for you. So I'm not suggesting that it's me or it's you, but I think that this will open up people's brains a little bit and minds to think, oh, I need somebody. Now I'm going to be on the hunt to find the one that's right for me. So can't thank you guys enough. Give them your website one more time.
John?
Yeah, forgeinnerarmor.com. And then royerneuroscience.com. So either
Right.
one, they'll get to me or Doc. So, yep.
And you can reach me at johndwaskin.com. Doc, John, this was great. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for your insights.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, John.